Is Joelinton the cure to the right-hand side of the pitch? First goal that went in was probably the easiest goal. Shockingly terrible referees with great opinions, though, behind closed doors. And so... Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NUFC 360 podcast. With me this week is Stephen and Max. Gentlemen, we're on a goddamn roll. We get straight into it. Max, are the results finally starting to match the performance?
I think they are. I mean, we saw that the performances were improving, but we didn't get anything for it. And now we're seeing the opposite. We're getting something from our performances. The results are coming in, and now the tune about how and everything else is slightly more positive going into this international break than it was before or after the Chelsea defeat, I think. So I'm happy, and the team looks good, and I'm looking forward to our next game. Unfortunately, we have this shit international break in between, but we can't do anything about that. So
yeah, I mean, we could abolish it. I feel like all those people that said how out feel as silly as I did about saying Hull can't play football, who's now our best player by far. It happens, it happens to the best of us. So what pleased you most about the performance, Stephen?
Well, I think it's the continuation of it. As much as there's been a trend so far this season that despite our lackluster performances at times, we've shown resiliency quite a lot this season, even though when we have played poorly, we have often still been annoying to break down and difficult to play against.
Yep.
For most teams. I think that's now, because we conceded first, that's now 8 points so far this season from losing positions. We got 10 points from losing positions on all of last season. 7 of those 8 came from away from home. We didn't come back to get any points last season at all, once. Only us and Liverpool have not dropped points this season from a winning position. So we're showing that sort of the tight-fistedness that you get, or that we had in the fourth place season. The defense is starting to look a lot better. The midfield being more balanced is helping because the back line's getting more protection.
Yep.
I think that's the big standout from the Forest game. Also, the first time we've scored 3 goals this season.
Lovely.
First time we've won a game by more than a goal this season. And then just the confidence. I think you saw it particularly in the second half. I mean, Eddie Howe's mentioned that he wasn't particularly happy with the level of performance in the first half. I think we're probably the better side in every way other than that one moment of poor defending where we conceded a goal from a free kick. But we still weren't quite at our best. Came out in the second half much better, and then you started to see it in the confidence. Particularly the build up for Harvey Barnes's goal.
Oh, wonderful!
Or even the build up for Joelinton's goal. You saw particularly, I think it was the ball from Hull round the corner to Tonali, to Bruno, to Barnes, who just put that little flick around the corner over his man, around his man, and then Bruno laid it off for Tonali again, who kind of ran forward with it. That sort of free-flowing football that we haven't really seen at times this season, or not seen it with an end product, is that's that sort of coming back into the side. As long as we keep playing like this, I think everyone's going to be happy. I mean, you mentioned people who were Howe, or at least very critical of Eddie Howe. I think we've been critical of Eddie Howe's decision making or the levels of performance, and rightly so. I still want to see this continue. This needs to be like we've said multiple times. This needs to be our level. We need to be able to take it to most teams. The league is as wide open as it's been in years. I think only really the top 2 spots for me are cemented. I think Liverpool are probably going to win. City are still City, even though they look a bit weak at times. I think from 3rd on down to like 13th, the point that it's so tight at the moment that anyone who can rattle off a run of wins is going to run away with or build up a good sort of gap between them and the rest of the chasing pack and have a really good shot at Europe.
We dominated. I feel like we did dominate that game. It was, but what I will say is, we suck at set pieces. We are bad. We're a bad team. And that first goal that went in was probably the easiest goal. Was it Murillo that scored it?
Yep.
Because my brother-in-law was next to me, and he works in Nottingham, so he knows a lot of Nottingham fans. And he was saying a lot of his work was saying that Murillo's worth like 70 million, and we're both laughing at it. Yeah, that's exactly what Stevens did there. And then he bangs in that header, and we're both going 70 million. That lad, 70 million. But he's not going to get an easier goal. I feel like that there was no defending. Everyone stood in the line apart from Isak, and everyone's blaming Isak. I don't think it was that. I don't think it was entirely Isak's fault at all. But I just thought the defending was non-existent. And then on the other hand, we then get our first set piece goal since how long? Although I don't think it was a great set piece. I think what it was great reactions from Isak. When you look at it in slow motion, the fact that he's anticipating the ball dropping and hitting it straight in, I thought was a very, very good goal. But I still feel he's leggy. I still feel we're only getting about 70% of Alex. I mean, would you agree with that, Max? Obviously, being his biggest fan ever.
Yeah, I can agree with that. But I also think we're starting to see him getting up to speed more, because I think at the Nottingham game is probably the best game he's had since coming back from his injury. So you can see that he's probably gaining his fitness back. You don't know how they train when they injure like a toe. How much can you train? How can you train? How much do you lose? It's kind of hard to get a grasp on, but I think you're starting to see that he's getting back to his old self. I mean, he was part in two of the goals. He could have scored the second one. They probably should have, but difficult finish. But he was there for it, and I think was involved in the play a bit more on Sunday. And overall, I'm starting to see it's going to be interesting to see him play for Sweden now. There's 2 games that we have coming up in the Nations League.
Hope he doesn't. Hope he pulls out like all the England squad have. Yeah.
Honestly, me too. But it's going to be interesting to see him play because playing with Gyökeres is in red hot form, and just to see how if the confidence comes with him in the national team, and also if he can score some goals, because we face quite easy opponents, and maybe take that form also into the coming back from the international break. So let's see. I hope so.
Yeah, I do feel like it's a bit of fitness, but I think it was also a bit of confidence. It's not. Yeah. I can't remember many one-on-one chances that he's missed or fluffed or made the wrong choices typically on that. So I think the injury's maybe taking a bit of confidence away from him as well. We spoke about this. Yates, Stephen, also known as dirty little shithouse rat, Yates for Nottingham. First of all, the Tino Livramento, for those who didn't see it, ball's in the air. Tino's looking at the ball. Yates isn't looking at the ball, and he basically elbows him in the face. He catches him with his arm, and it is deliberate. I don't care what you say. He's glanced over his shoulder, knows where he is, and he's done that. Red card for you?
It could be a red card. I think the only reason it probably, at least, I mean, it got looked at, but with the sort of point of emphasis that you stick with the on-field decision unless it's overwhelming evidence.
Shah's red or that?
Shah's wasn't even a red.
Do you know what I mean? So why are we
Shah's wasn't even a red. I mean, it was the fact that there was. It's the fact that, to their mind, at least to VAR's mind, not enough to overturn it, given the point of emphasis. If the ref didn't give it, I think it was. I think it would have. If I was the ref, obviously biased, I would have probably given it a red if I looked at it and called it.
Yeah,
seen it properly. I don't think, having seen it a few times now from different angles, I don't think there's enough on it to make VAR, to this season's VAR, stop the game and go, no, you have to send him off.
Yeah,
I don't think there's enough there. I think if the ref had called it a red, it would have stayed one. The fact that he didn't, there still wasn't enough on it for me to stop the game and say this was a horrific thing that's happened. Send him off now.
Okay, and there was another
yellow card at least.
Oh, sorry, go on. Yeah, well, exactly, and then it continued. This little shithouse rat was running around, kicking every player up a height. I've put on my notes. Possible 2 red cards, definitely 6 yellow cards.
Yeah,
there was.
I mean, he committed a match high 5 fouls. He committed in that game.
But he should have been given more. It was literally kicking everyone up a height. I've never seen anything like it. Max, there was another incident with Sean Longstaff, which we touched on briefly before we came on. Do you think if Sean had gone down, because it was a high tackle, there was contact, and again, these are quite soft. This the first one was the worst one for me, and I do like. I have to caveat this that I do like lack of VAR interference. I do enjoy that. It has been a big step in the right direction this season with our use of VAR because it's sparing, but it does make it really freaking annoying when they don't do the right call still.
Yeah.
But do you think if Sean Longstaff went down, do you think he was a victim of his own sort of morality, the way that he likes to play the game? He's not a massive diver, doesn't really simulate.
Unfortunately, I think so, because if it goes down, I mean, the referee immediately, because I think he gave the advantage when the play was happening. And to be honest, I haven't looked back at it, the situation, because I don't see the point in pondering over decision that didn't go our way. But I get the point of it. I mean, it is studs up. It's at knee height. By the rules of the game, it should be a red card, I think, because he doesn't really have. I mean, it's not that much force in it, but it's a danger if he connects properly with that on his knee. That could end in a seriously damaging injury. Yeah. But I think we should credit Longstaff for keep playing on. I also think that sort of situation ended up with us in a goal scoring opportunity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so
I think
credit to him. But I mean, if he goes down, it's probably going to be at least. I mean, he didn't find his cards for Yates this game, but it should be a red in my opinion, or at least a second yellow, as you mentioned before. He should have like 10 yellow cards that game. So
yeah, I think if we go down, and again, this is the sort of like what you heard John Terry talking about, like Mourinho saying, like, I need two of you to go down at a certain point, like, because make the referee make a decision. If Sean Longstaff does go down and stops play, the referee then has to make the decision. You see referees all the time go advantage, and then 50-50 if the guy's going to get away with the yellow card.
I think this is where one of Longstaff's limitations as a player is that he doesn't really have it's a bit unfair to say, but he has the brain to focus on the game, but then also the sort of what's the word, the pragmatic sort of
shithousery, exactly.
Yeah, he hasn't got that sort of nous to think in every situation. Okay, analyze it really quickly and make a snap decision. I'm going to go down here. I'm not going to go down here. Because Bruno's great at it.
Oh yeah,
Bruno's amazing. Yeah. Bruno knows. He sort of has this sort of line that he has in his head where he's like, I feel just the right amount of contact. I'm down.
It's a self-analysis.
Yeah, I feel like if it was Joelinton in that spot, it probably goes down. I think Tonali would probably go down. I think the more technically aware, because Longstaff has often been criticized for taking too long to make decisions. I think the ones who have that faster processing speed would probably have made the decision to go down and probably force, like you say, mentioning Mourinho, forcing the referee into a decision.
Yeah, you got to put the pressure on them, especially with our shockingly terrible referees with great opinions though behind closed doors. And so what I liked about the game is what I didn't like to begin with was Gordon on the right. Don't like it. Can't get on board with it. Hate it. He's much better on the left. What I then saw was a wild Joelinton on the right-hand side of the pitch, which I was saying to my dad, well, fine. Gordon's a better left winger than he is. See what he does. And what a goal he scored, by the way. It was an absolute bang on his left foot. Never again will he ever do that. But Steve, do you think is Joelinton the cure to the right-hand side of the pitch?
Another YouTube channel a couple of years ago used to describe Alain Saint-Maximin as a bit of a water player. So there'd be a hole in the team, and he would just flow into it and just fill it. That's Joelinton. Joelinton is like a rich man's water carrier. He will just fill a role, and he'll do it, probably pretty damn well, as long as it's not center forward.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yeah, he can, like we mentioned with, after Gordon's performances against Chelsea and Arsenal, or just Arsenal, sorry, he wasn't in that Chelsea game. I think he can be a short-term solution, but I think ideally, I don't really know where Joelinton's really going to fit long-term. He can, if he's the right wing, if he's now the right winger, and we go and get a top right winger either in January or next summer, and then they rotate and it's Joelinton and someone else, then I think that is a good medium term, because Joelinton's 28. I think he's great on the left with Joe Willock. Like you say, I think Gordon's much better on the left. Barnes would obviously want to be playing more. And we'll probably talk about him in a little bit.
Yep.
But we have those two really good left wingers on the left. You need Joelinton on the right seems to also just fit. He just seems to make it work whenever he's there. I mean, he was joint second on defensive actions in the game, led us on progressive carries by double. He was twice as many progressive carries as the next best person. Most carries into the penalty area in the game. Didn't miscontrol the ball once all game long. That's an actual statistic. He's so secure with the ball, and he's playing with real confidence. I think he's probably sorted out the way that, sort of the difficult questions we have for our starting 11, which is who plays where and sort of how to get the best out of it. Joelinton on the right, especially with how he played against Arsenal, he played against Chelsea, and he played against Forest for large stretches of the game on the right-hand side. I think that has given us at least a bomb for a while on that right wing.
I think it asks questions of the other team, makes their manager change it up. And if you're against because Gordon and Joelinton are two very different players physically and the way they approach the game. So if you get used to taking on Gordon, and now this absolute shithouse of a human being stood in front of me, like, oh, what do I do with this? So I was concerned when I saw it initially, but then obviously it came good. We mentioned Barnes there, Max. As much as I really like Harvey Barnes, should we still just use him as the impact sub? Can you see where we start him? Because we seem to be getting the best out of him off the bench.
I don't know, actually. I mean, he's doing a very good job as an impact sub, and that's probably not good for him. But I mean, he comes on, he scores goal, he puts an assist. I mean,
every time.
Yeah, and he's looking really sharp every time he comes on. For like 20. I mean, it was 10 minutes against Forest, I think. But at the time he does something with it. And when he started the games, I haven't seen anything from him that proves that he should start. Whether it's Gordon or Barnes, I always feel like Gordon has the better. When from the starting position, always is the better player. But Barnes just comes on and scores a goal, and then you're like, okay, well, we probably should start him because he's scoring goals for us, but he's not doing it when he's there. It's a confusing situation, but also it's not always about the team that starts the game. It's also about the team who finishes the game, and to have him as an impact sub isn't that bad. I mean, when the other team is tired, to have a fresh Harvey Barnes come on with attacking your fullbacks and trying to shoot from difficult positions. And, we know he has that world-class quality that I don't think many in our team has, that striking ability from outside the box, that shooting range and finishing ability. It's probably him and Isak who has that world-class level of finishing. To have that on the bench is a really good, and also for rotation from, Gordon, letting Gordon rest something. And also it's a difficult question, honestly, and I don't know, because we saw how he was playing Gordon on the right and then Barnes on the left and then switching. It didn't really work. Mm-hmm. So I think the impact sub for him is what to expect in the games to come.
Do you think maybe that one of the things that I heard recently was on the Athletics Newcastle podcast, Pod on the Tyne, mentioned the idea. I mean, Harvey Barnes, having now gone back and looked at some highlights in which he's appeared, he looks leaner now than he did.
Yeah,
both a few months ago, but also when he joined us. Do we think? I mean, obviously we know. I think we sort of always forget it when a new player joins, but we forget that
the Eddie Howe level,
the system we play takes time to get used to. And obviously, Barnes missed so many months with that Liz Frank injury, I think it was, on his foot. That he wouldn't have been able to put any weight on his foot, so he wouldn't have been able to do all the leg work and he needed to get up to speed physically. I'm wondering if we're now seeing it, because normally it takes about 20-25 minutes to really get up to speed and impact a game. Barnes came on and was pretty quick to impact the game.
Yep.
Obviously had help with the deflection. I'm wondering if now getting up to speed physically is going to allow him to start some more as well, start the odd game and potentially have a good impact from the get-go.
I have a theory that it's because he's slow. As wingers go, he's not quick. He's not like
he's not slow.
He's not quick though, is he? He's not lightning quick.
Yeah, he's not Gordon, but Gordon's rapid. He's quick enough.
Is he faster than Almiron? No. Is he faster than Murphy? No. Is he faster than Gordon? No. He's not rapid. I'm not saying he's slow, but by wingers standards, the modern day winger standard, he's not that quick. What he makes up on is technically, as you say, Max, he's one of our only world class level of finishing in and outside the box. He's very clever with both feet. I love him as an impact sub. I would not start. He's making it run for his own back, so I wouldn't start him at all. I completely agree with Max that we just don't see the same player when he begins, and I don't know if that's in his head or if it's physical. And fullbacks have got him, because if you're not rapid, you've got to be, Ronaldinho levels of trickery to get round players. So Maximin was only good because he was quite technical and explosively quick. Gordon's very good because he's bit better at dribbling and controlling than Maximin, but again, explosively quick. So that's just my 2 pence on that. And another player that seems to do better since we took him out of the team is our pointless purchase of Tonali. He seems to, again, Max, to be another impact sub. Do you see the same thing with him? Is he suffering from making a good impact towards the end of the game? What's your theory on how do we get Tonali in the team, or is he again a very expensive substitute?
No, I think he's too good to be on the bench, but I also think we have 1-2 games now with this sort of formation and players playing, and I don't see who you want to take out. I mean, the obvious answer for everyone is probably Longstaff, but then he has played well in this last 2 games.
He's played really well.
And then you have Bruno, and you think you can't take Bruno out of the team. He's our captain, he's our standard bearer. And then you have Willock, who's come back and has been also really good, and he's provided something extra in that midfield. So then you think, oh, well, who do we have left? So in this situation, I mean, as an impact sub, he did really well also. He brought some really good legs, and I mean, he's quick, he's rapid, his technical ability is also up. We're talking about world class. It's world class. This first time passes, I mean, he was involved in both goals, if I remember correctly. It's in the build-up, and I mean, his ball carrying also quite well. So it's like you can't have a 50 million pound player on the bench, but then where do you start him? And that's difficult. But it's also good to have these problems, because then you have a rotation. You can also have competition for places. I mean, players know they have to up their game. I mean, Sean Longstaff, for an example, knows if he's having a bad game, he's going to get taken out, and you have Tonali waiting in the line. And then you always have Lewis Miley waiting in the back, and it's good to have competition for places. But I feel like you have to have in Tonali in the starting 11 at some time in the near future.
Okay. Well, Stephen, how do we do that? How do we get him in the starting 11?
Yeah, please solve it, Stephen, man.
Yeah, go on, Stephen. Throw numbers at us.
I think I mean, you mentioned dropping Longstaff. I think the thing that we're seeing at the moment isn't just, oh, Longstaff's a better starter for us than Tonali is, because I don't think that's the case. I think that what we're seeing is just how, sticking to the words he used early on in his tenure with us, which is he will stick with the players that are performing right now.
Yep.
If the team is performing well and the players are performing well within that, he will not drop them until they stop performing well, or until someone else starts performing better every time they're on the pitch. I think that Tonali is better than Longstaff and Willock. I do think, we do know that when he comes on now, we do know what role he's going to take. When he came on against Forest, his average position was where Bruno was in the first half, which was just in front of the back four, with Bruno sort of moving up a bit. I think we know that's his best position. We saw him excel there against Chelsea. He came on against Arsenal and played well in that role. He came on against Forest. He played well in that role. I think that is where he's going to be when he does get a run of starts. But until Longstaff or Willock stop performing, you don't take him out. You don't take them out. You don't start Tonali, and I think that's fair. I think it's very meritocratic, and I think it motivates the players, because they know, especially in the midfield now, there are people who are going to try and take your spot. Mm-hmm. There is that ability there. Longstaff and Willock know, if I'm not performing well, Sandy's right there to take my spot. Like if I'm not performing well, even Lewis Miley's just been called up to the under-21s for England. He'll come back into the team soon enough that he can occasionally take a cup game or the odd half hour at the end of games instead of me if I'm not starting. But yeah, I think Sandro Tonali I think his destiny with us is that deepest sixth role, that sort of sitting midfielder, like he sort of played at Milan, basically. Shuttle back and forth, win the ball back, give it to or either launch it long or just play it out wide and whatnot. And occasionally when he gets the ball, drive upfield, which he's really good at because he's a powerful runner. But yeah, I think we know what the role is. We know how he's going to play, and we know how he'll fit into the team. It's just team's performing well right now, and until it stops doing that, there's no need to switch up.
Yeah, I do think if you're putting Tonali in the team at the minute, it would be a bit of a gamble. Bosh! Got it in there. Thank you very much. I've been sitting on that for quite a while there. Another question I'll put to you both. A player that Forest didn't start, I think it's called Anderson. Why is he so shit? Why did he play so badly? Why? I heard he cost them a lot of money. Why why is he so crap? I was half worried when he came on. I was like,
it's the same reason why Morgan Gibbs-White played poorly.
He did.
They went up against a backline that performed really, really well.
Yeah.
Like we can talk about like Anderson not having it. You can talk about Chris Wood gets mentioned. Like Dan Burn had a great game. He basically marked Chris Wood out the game.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that we always say about you. That's one of a cliche about centre backs or goalkeepers is often if you don't hear their name called, it means they've had a good game.
Yep.
For the most part, and I think Burn and Cher had that. Cher and Tino between them kept Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs-White quiet, and Burn and Hall kept Alanga. Well, Alanga was pretty decent for a stretch of the game, but nothing too great. But Burn and Hall kept Wood and Alanga from being much of a threat. And I think it was the same when Anderson came on. Anderson's a good player, and he gave them more technical ability in front of our backline than Gibbs-White did. But he was still going up against a backline that at that point in the game really had they had the reins of the game firmly in hand, and they were so much in their flow of playing well. Anderson, I like him quite a lot as a player. I think he's a really promising young lad, but you're not going to come in and unless you're a world-class player, you're not going to come in and disrupt the game from that position. And
one last thing. I don't know if you guys feel the same. I did not want to spend money on a right-sided centre-back in the summer as much as we were trying to spunk 70 million on a very average Mark Gahey. Proven to be a great decision now that he's going to get relegated. I have, however, seen a decline in Fabian Schär. As much as I love him, his distribution, I felt he gave the ball away over the last few weeks, actually, a hell of a lot. I mean, that's something that was his strength. I feel like he seems to be, I can't believe I'm saying this, next to Dan Burn, the weaker of the two at this moment in form. We know how good he is, but I don't know if you've noticed as well, Max, do you think that he's do you think this is the last season that he's going to be A at Newcastle and B starting?
It's interesting that you mentioned it because I also had the same thought when I watched him this game, but also the previous games. I think he's looking slower, even more so than he was before. Yep. And as you say, his passing ability hasn't been quite the same from what I've seen. I mean, maybe the stats say something else, Stephen, but what I've seen, I mean, those cross balls across to Joelinton or the left winger hasn't been accurate, maybe sometimes too short. And I mean, what is it, 34, 33? I mean, it's time for him to be replaced. How much it saddens me to say, but you have to also know when it's time to let go of a player. And it's not that he's been bad.
No.
But I mean, if we had him in Croft for the first 2-3 games when he got suspended, and I don't really see. Yeah, I mean, the difference between them two, we always said, okay, well, Schär has his passing ability that Croft doesn't have, which he does. But when Lascelles comes back, you wonder if he might be. I mean, this also could be the case of the competition again. He needs more competition. He knows he has that spot locked down.
Yeah,
there's no one behind him because Lloyd Kelly is the left back or left centre back, and I mean, it could be that. But I agree with you. It's something we might consider maybe letting him go in the summer or selling him for something.
Yeah, I feel like to say just a little bit. I'm not saying he's terrible. It's time to get him
out.
Exactly. Because I'm a little bit like that, but I won't like that with him. I just noticed because his standards are very high, and I do like him. That the long balls haven't been quite making it.
Do you guys want some numbers?
I'd literally about to say, do the numbers confirm this, Stephen?
Yeah, pretty much.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that he's 32, just about to turn 33. I think just on to talk about it quickly before I mentioned some numbers. I think this season is justifying the push for a top tier centre back, regardless of who it is. 70 million for Gay would have been an overpay, regardless. That's nearing on Van Dijk money. He's not Van Dijk.
Yeah,
I mean, Max mentions he's a bit slow. He's made more errors leading to shots this year than he was, or at a rate that was higher than he was last year. He's still quite rash when he steps out the line, but he's even slower. Like Max says, he was slower than he was before. He was, he was slower than an oil tanker trying to get through molasses before. But now he might as well not have any legs. But you look at like you mentioned his passing numbers. He's gone from last season is in the top 1% in the Premier League for long passes completed, the top 15%. Like it's a 14 percentile drop. He went from being top 15-16% for shot creating actions as a defender last season to the bottom 28%. Like his passing is falling off a cliff. Like his short passes. He's gone from being about middle of the park, which is like at this sort of level of football, short pass completion regularly hits up over 90%, 95%.
Yeah, always my goalkeeper on Football Manager.
To be really good at that, you have to get like 98, 99%. He's gone from the about the 50th percentile, which he's about 90%. He's now in the bottom 10% for pass completion percentage at short passes. Like all of his ability has gone from 52nd percentile to the 24th percentile for key passes. Passes in the final third are actually going up because he's trying them more, but the rate at which he completes them is going down. Everything he's doing on the ball is getting less successful because he's just less able to do it. I think. I also do think, just to sort of argue against it a little bit, is that I think all of the change in the team, it's been very sort of tumultuous. The changes in the lineup. They seem to change. At least early on this season, they seem to change quite a lot. I think having that sort of rotation of personnel is sort of playing around with it, because last season, or the 2 seasons ago, when it worked exceptionally well for Cher, or last season when it worked really well, it was the same person on the left wing every game. His 4th place season, it was Joelinton starting left wing most of the time. Last season, it was Gordon. So all those diagonal balls over the top, they were going to the same person, so you could really get into a groove, knowing who's going to play, how they like to receive the ball, how fast they are. And I think that's probably playing a factor into it as well. Again, to flip it back again, he is obviously then, even when he's playing the ball, sort of trying to break the lines of pressure and trying to break sort of lines of engagement, he's still giving the ball. He's just playing them right to midfielders at the time on the opposing teams. And it's a concern whether or not it is a decline. Well, what looks like a decline is probably confirmed to be a decline based on the fact that the club were after Gehi in the summer.
Yeah, and I think what you've said there, it's a steady decline in all metrics, not just this one thing he's kind of gone down. And to be fair, he cost us $3 million, and he's been an absolute. We still love him. It's not the be all end all.
Yeah.
And before we wrap it up, we've had Hull and Tino Livramento called up for England, which is great news. Kraft has broken his body, which is very, very sad news. Very, very sad news. And we then we'll do a podcast next week on West Ham in more depth, but we welcome West Ham. We're going to you heard it here first. We're going to slap them up. It's going to be like 4-5-0. Like, get rid of Moyes, you silly club. We want to play better football. We'll enjoy 15th
Are we the
position.
team? Will we be the team that gets Lopetegui sacked?
No. Oh, no, yes, we will. I thought we'd give him a win. No. Possibly. The way they're playing, they're shocking. If you made it this far, hit like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much. Comment below your score prediction for West Ham. And gentlemen, till next week.